How's it going, everyone? Mr. Frenzian, Bones back again, and today we're going to talk about pedigree charts. So far, we've done lots of Punnett squares and figuring out different types of genotypes and how it affects our phenotypes. But what does it really mean? How do we really use it? Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take this stuff that we've been learning about and put it into pedigree charts. A pedigree chart is simply a family tree. That's all it is. That traces back our genetic inheritance. So it's going to tell us basically who's a boy, who's a girl, who has a trait, or who carries a trait. Okay, that's all a pedigree chart is. It's a fancy family tree. Okay, Bones? All right, let's do this. Best way to learn this is to just practice using them. So there's a couple basics you need to know. The first basic you need to know is what everything stands for. So if it's a male, it's a square. Simple as that. Squares mean male. If it's a circle, it means female. Simple so far, okay? Squares, male, circles, female. Now, if a square or a circle is fully colored in, okay, fully colored in, like you see down here, okay, number 4 down here on the bottom row and number 6, that means the person has the trait. Whatever the trait is we're talking about. It could be a disease like sickle cell anemia or color blindness. It could just be the color of your hair, whether it's brown or blonde. It doesn't really matter. This is just a way to show what traits are being passed down from generation to generation. If you have a circle or a square that is half colored in, that means that they are a carrier of the trait. It doesn't mean they have it. It means they have the genes inside their DNA to pass it on to future generations. Okay, this is typically a heterozygous genotype, are your carriers. Okay, so that's a big letter and a little letter. For instance, here's a sample pedigree chart that we have here. Here's the first thing you need to know. There are 3 generations in this pedigree chart. Here's generation 1. This would be like your grandparents, this top row. Generation 2, this would be your parents, your aunts, and your uncles. And then generation 3, this is you and all of your cousins, okay? So we've got the top row is generation 1, the second row is generation 2, the third row is generation 3, okay? So now, okay, person 1 and 2, okay, grandma, grandpa 1 and 2, in the first generation had a boy and a girl. You can see this line goes down here. One goes to the boy, one goes to a girl. Okay, so they had a boy and a girl. Now, this person over here, okay, this is the person, the female, that this boy had children with. And they had 3 children. 1 girl here, 2 girls here, and a boy here. Okay, so that's how you would basically read it. So we have 2 parents here. They had 2 children, a boy and a girl. The boy had children with this female here, and they had 3 kids. This girl here had children with this male here. Okay, and they also had 3 kids. These grandparents 3 and 4, okay, they had 4 children. 2 boys, number 4 and 6, and 2 girls, number 5 and 7. Okay, so now let's pretend that we're talking about brown hair and blonde hair. That's what we're going to pretend. Okay, you can see here that girl 3 and girl 4, boy 4, okay, they're both carriers for blonde hair. That doesn't mean they have it. They probably both have brown hair because brown hair is the dominant genotype. Now, when they had children, you can see person here, 4, male here, and 6 are fully colored in. That means they have the trait. That means they both have blonde hair. And the one girl in the middle here has brown hair. Okay, so remember, when we're having offspring, half of the DNA comes from mom and half of the DNA comes from dad. So depending on which trait is being passed on, whether it's the big B for brown hair or little b for blonde hair, that's going to determine what the children look like. So both parents in this case have brown hair, but 2 out of their 3 kids had blonde hair. Okay, this is the way we trace family trees using a pedigree chart. Okay, again, squares stand for males, circles females. If it's half colored in, it means they're a carrier of the trait that we're talking about, or disease, or whatever. And if they're fully colored in, that means they're exhibiting it. Okay, and in an example I just showed you, okay, we had 2 brown-haired parents. that ended up with 2 out of their 3 kids having blonde hair. It can happen. Here's another example of a pedigree chart. Okay, here we have Maria and Jose Sr. Okay, for whatever this trait is, it doesn't matter. You can see Maria has the trait, and Jose Sr. is a carrier of the trait. Okay, so now Maria and Jose are first generation. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children. They had Maria, Dora, Rafael, Jose Jr., and Joel. Okay, so they had 5 children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's generation 2. Now, Maria is a carrier of whatever trait is we're talking about. She had children with Johnny. They had 3 girls. 1, 2, 3. 2 out of the 3 have the trait, and 1 does not. Dora and Carlos had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children. Will, Joe, Jonah, Carla, and Kim. All of them are just carriers of the trait. That means Dora had to give the trait, but Carlos doesn't have the trait to give. So when you blend Dora and Carlos, it comes out as everybody being carriers. Rafael and Angela did not have any children. Jose Jr. and Donna, they had 1 boy, Trayvon. Again, Jose Jr. had to give the trait. Donna did not have a trait to give, so Trayvon is a carrier. The same situation happened with Joel and Keisha. Joel had the trait to give, so he gave the colored in trait. Keisha did not have any trait to give, so they are carriers. So here we have 3 generations that show what type of traits are being passed on, or what type of traits are being passed on as carriers. And that's how you use a pedigree chart. Now, what determines if you're a boy or a girl? It all has to do with your chromosomes, your X chromosome and your Y chromosome. Now, the reason you're a boy or a girl has to do everything with your dad. Okay? Dad is the one who decided whether you're a boy or a girl. And this is why. If you're a girl, when you're given a trait from mom and a trait from dad, you're given 2 X chromosomes. If you're given 2 X chromosomes, that means you're a female. So that means females or your mom only have X chromosomes to give. It's the only one they can give you. Dad has an X and a Y chromosome. So now, if dad gives you the X chromosome, you become a girl. If dad gives you the Y chromosome, you become a boy. Okay? You can see the Punnett square here, which shows this. So mom can only give X chromosomes. She doesn't have a choice. Dad gives an X or a Y. So that means every time a couple has kids, there's a 50-50 chance you are going to be either male or female, and that trait comes from your dad. Hope that explains some things to you, Bones. See you next time.